full spoilers for the unbearable weight of massive talent, Nicolas Cage's new film, Pedro Pascal. Shit, full spoilers. You've been warned.
Yep.
What do we think about this?
You've been warned.
You're warned.
Ben?
Oh, I guess I'm going first now. I enjoyed this movie. I had a blast. I'm not so sure if I love it, though. That's the thing. I don't have a really big negative to say about it, but when I was leaving the theater, I was like, man, that was a good movie. That was fun. But it wasn't like The Northman where I was like, man, that movie was so great, or it wasn't even like a Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. I know all three of those are completely different films and they're all right, but coming out of Unbearable Weight, I was like, I had a good time. I'm glad I saw it. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, if I didn't see it, then I probably wouldn't have been that upset about it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot. I had a really good time with it. I think it's pretty solid, but I do think it fumbled its way to the finish line.
Sure. I really liked this. I thought it was very funny. Yeah, that's basically it. I just had a good time with this one. It's like, for me, it was like a good vibe. Like Nicolas Cage is just kind of hanging out with him. There's a lot of like how Nicolas Cage is putting in like a lot of his love of cinema. Like he's like, what's your favorite movie of all time? Oh, it's one of those possible questions because like it depends on your mood, depends on the thing. I really like that. Obviously, the Paddington joke really landed for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then moving that into the end of like the that's the movie that he bonds with his daughter. I appreciated that. Yeah.
I think that there's an amount of the script kind of being saying that they're aware of it. I think the kidnapping element starts to hurt the movie after a certain point.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
You want to say more about that?
Yeah, sure. I think that once you get to a certain point in the kidnapping story in the third act, like it's just a different film. I don't think that we're playing to the arc of what we were setting up in the first two acts as much.
Yeah.
Like the first act tells me that a part of what this story is supposed to be about is Nicolas Cage changing his relationship with his daughter specifically. Or with how he balances his passion with being a father.
Mm-hmm.
And the third act doesn't actually do anything to change Nicolas Cage in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he saves them, which is cool, and everybody would appreciate that. But it's not like that's him changing how he behaves with her. Granted, like, there's the not going to the premiere party to spend time with them, offering for her to pick something to share with him. That's there, but there's not a come around. Like the things that he does in the third act are not things that are actually in service of fostering that change.
Right.
I think it's all the more damning of his mentality at that point when he has Nikki in that last moment with Nikki say, where he says to Nikki, I have to go do this because she has to know I fought for her. It's still about him. It's not about her.
Yeah.
It's not about saving her. It's about that she has to know I tried.
Yeah.
I think are you done with your thoughts, Sparkz? Or
I mean, there's a lot I can say about like what I feel about the third act, because it is the thing where I'm like, I think that the film is so brilliant up to that point that it is like something went off the rails a little there. Okay. Go ahead though. I'm sure I'm going to circle back on it.
Yeah, I want to say I think my biggest negative is actually the last scene with Nikki, because like when we first see him in the movie, he's like a younger, obviously it's a de-aged Nicolas Cage, and that's like his movie star side. It's like, no, the driving force is like, no, you have to be a movie star. You're not just an actor, you're a movie star. You have to star in these films. We have to get you into doing better, into bigger films, bigger blockbusters, yada, yada, yada. And then it turns out that that's the thing that's been holding him back with this relationship with his daughter. So in the last time where we do see him, we're essentially our Nick Cage doesn't really look at himself in the eyes like, no, I want to do this for my daughter. I want to do this for her, not for me, for her. I think there could have been like, a looking inside moment that where he faces his own inner demons, Nikki being the inner demon.
Oh,
And there
don't they? Wait, hold on. Am I misremembering? Don't they have a scene where he confronts his movie star side and like says, "No, I'm going to do this for Nikki"?
He does,
Well,
and then his first side kind of like kicks him down again.
Well, that's the whole point. Is we're talking about that same moment. Is that the thing is that he doesn't make that assertion. He doesn't say that I'm doing this for her. I'm doing it so she knows I tried to do it.
Oh, yeah,
which is a different statement, right?
Mhm.
It's a statement about the self more than it is about her.
Yeah, he's still even though he's doing a selfless act, he's still being selfish.
That's the spoiler, by the way. There's a de-aged Nicolas Cage running around in this movie.
I mean, I didn't think that was a spoiler. That was in the trailer.
No, it's not. Like now that you've seen the movie, yeah, it's that you notice it, but it's not what we thought it was.
No, for sure. Like I thought it was him like dressing up in makeup.
Yeah, me too.
And like doing a performance for Javi when the trailer was out. That's what I thought it was. So I didn't see this interpretation coming. I like this.
Me too.
It's cool. That's the thing is like, because I'm gonna praise like the front half a lot, and I really need to stress because like I know how it can sound, especially when I started on negative, but I started on negative because I like to end positive. I like so much of the first two acts of the film that it's only like, I only saw this a few hours ago, and the third act has just like worn slowly down on me where I'm like, oh, man, I feel like we missed greatness, right? We ended at good and we missed great. And like, clearly the first two acts of this film set me up like greatness was achievable here. And I don't think we quite got there. And there's something about like Michael and I talked in circles around like the different ways that the execution of this particular beat could have been changed to like reflect what needed to happen for the story. That like, there's something about the way that they go into, even though I think it's cool visually, the way they go into the actual fake film of what you've watched so far.
Mm-hmm.
The snippet that we get feels ill-placed. For example, one option I posited to Michael is that when he has that last confrontation to Nikki, you could have done it there. Once he comes out of that confrontation after he sees Tiffany Haddish's agent down, the whole movie is now the fake movie, right? Mm-hmm. Almost like you're wondering, is this the movie they make? Or is this how Nicolas Cage is now interpreting things? Mm-hmm. Because that's the only way he can get through it, which is a much more interesting question than the way that they ultimately come about getting there. For me, part of the context that like ends up, I feel like we rush into the ending. We rush into this epilogue where like, and now he's just worked things out with his daughter, I guess, for the best. But like, we don't watch change happen in him other than his daughter's life being at risk. We don't watch change happen in him in terms of that arc. He murders a man for supposedly the first time. I suspect that we're meant to believe Nicolas Cage has murdered a man, and like it's not relevant. And that's another reason why like that whole kidnapping section, I'm like, there's something about like once we hit into that beat where we're like deep into the kidnapping stuff, when it's him going and getting the girls and chasing the thing, and I'm like, this could be any actor. This became less Nicolas Cage personal. Mm-hmm. Like it's cool that it is Nicolas Cage. I'm enjoying watching this film, but you could do the same story beats that you're doing right now, and it could be any actor doing this movie, doing this bit, and it lost the personal touch for what the movie had been doing up to that point and became kind of just like this action movie beat that like I don't think connects to the first two acts as well.
Ben, can you bring up Maxwell's comment, please?
Yes, he says that Pedro Pascal has great chemistry with Cage.
Yeah, I wanted to highlight that. I think Pascal and Cage are very good together. They're clearly having a good time, which really helps sell their relationship. Yeah. And they kind of match each other's weirdness in a way that I didn't actually think Pedro Pascal could.
Yes, I thought that was really good too. And this is I will back off at some point. This is another one of my things with the third act is like, once you cross that line after a certain point, right? Mm-hmm. They're not on screen together as much anymore. They're not interacting as much anymore. The movie's suddenly like just not doing the stuff with them anymore. and that's
he
why
stays behind. He stays behind with his girl.
Even before that, like we get him like going into the compound as Sergio by himself. That's not with Javi. Like I thought Javi was going to go in too. It's all just like it's so. It just loses what's like making it sing up to that point.
Yeah.
And it's so jarring because I think it is so good. The interactions between them, the way that they're developing, the way that they're learning things about each other, the way that ultimately, like the story you're telling, right, is Nicolas Cage is this person who doesn't have an outlet to share in the things he appreciates about what he loves. So he's like just pushing it on his daughter when she doesn't want it. But he gets that in Javi. And now that he can have that outlet somewhere with an actual like friend that he connects with on that stuff, he can now actually like learn to take in and engage with his daughter in a different way rather than just like pushing. And that's where I'm like, man, that is all gelling so well in those first two acts. Like it's really, really working. Yeah.
The scene where they where we think that Pedro Pascal is the villain at that point, and then they're like, go check in that house, in that room, and they've just taken acid, and they kind of like, if you go in there, you'll never look at me the same way again.
That's like the exact moment I was like, this is his Nicolas Cage trophy room.
Yeah. And it's just like just the whole like they had the ask from Mandy.
Yes. The chainsaw.
Yeah. And then when he's just like, when he like moves the pillow and he's just like, no. And then Pedro Pascal moves it back.
Yeah. It's not creepy.
And then he sees the statue and is like, I'll give you 20,000. He's like, sorry, Mr. Cage, it's not for sale.
Yeah, I like their chemistry because you do buy when Nick Cage is told that like Javi is the bad guy before the reveal that's his cousin, that he genuinely can't believe it. And like the audience are like, no, that doesn't actually track with the person we've met up until now. Like, how is he a mass murderer? And you kind of with Cage at that moment.
Yeah.
Right.
There are times where you feel, because like I didn't peg. Okay, so I didn't peg the twist that it was his cousin until it actually happened. But the seeds of doubt were definitely sown. Like when Cage is talking to Tiffany Haddish and the other guy whose name I can't remember, but I recognize who he is in the CIA car. It's like, no, that's not the guy. You got the wrong guy.
Yeah, it's an after party reunion.
Yeah, and it's like, oh no, this is the guy. This is the guy. And then like you get the scene where they're shooting skeet, and he talks about the whole thing with the gun and how you have to control your breath. It's like, maybe he is the guy. And then you go into his Nicolas Cage trophy room. It's like, maybe he really isn't. And when it's revealed that he truly isn't, it's like, I'm kind of relieved because I really do like Javi. I was
very surprised. I was very surprised that Haddish and her partner died. Yeah. Like so very unceremoniously.
Yeah, I wasn't too keen on that bit, to be honest.
Well, it's not that necessarily that I was too keen. It was just really shocking to me that like they don't really have a resolution. Like kind of going back to what you're talking about, the third act, they don't really get a resolution in the third act. They just kind of die before it, and
it just doesn't. It feels like a different film all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like it just changed. It just wasn't doing the same things it was doing with the characters. And again, like the script is kind of acknowledging it because when like they bring up the kidnapping arc, they're like, you've just changed the movie. And it's like, that's the thing for the general audiences because you're having this character study and then you change it into this thing. And like it does change. But like I think there was still a way to like change it and still say something about Cage's journey. And they just didn't get that step. Yeah. I agree. Like it just feels weird the way we're traveling through it. And I thought maybe we were about to like get on track with when he goes in his last moment with Nikki because of looking at her body.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so this is where like, you know, a mental break even. If you come out of that moment and then he's interpreting it all as one of his movies, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, all of it has now changed its appearance, and you've got the different actors, and you've got like that's how he's going through it, and you do that all the way up to like the moment when Lucas gets stabbed, and then he comes back to reality. Like that, that would be something. Like, I'm not saying that's the only right way to do it. I'm just saying, like, there were different ways to engage with the path of how we're exploring this material, and it kind of just turned into, I guess, when the chips are down, Nicolas Cage can luck his way through some action sequences and murder some people just well enough to get to the end, which I'm like, cool. That's kind of like any beat of any action movie's third act that goes this way. And I just thought we were doing something different.
Yeah. I would have liked to have seen like the FBI agents get a little bit. It feels unnecessary to have them because of the way they die off. They're just kind of there.
I wonder if there's a better film that just doesn't involve this kind of super seedy plot line about like the international stuff, the kidnapping, all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, is Javi dangerous? And that can just be a lingering question that Nicolas Cage is confronting on his own.
Yeah, the opening very much confused me when it starts with like, kidnapping.
If you just go down to him misinterpreting, like if he thinks Javi's potentially dangerous of his own volition, right?
Yeah.
But Javi just wants to make a movie with him, and Javi brings the family because he's trying to help him, but he interprets that as they're now hostages.
Yeah.
You can still mine so much character stuff with Cage, with Javi, with them having that dynamic. And I don't think we need to do this kidnapping story. I don't think we need to do the CIA stuff. And that's kind of where, because of how it is in the third act, I just kind of ended up like, that wasn't the point of the movie.
Yeah.
You know, like the point of the movie was what was happening between Cage because of meeting Javi. And I think that like we just got so sidetracked by the end from that we kind of just end up like wrapping it up like Javi got to make a movie, yay, and he's fine and he's with the girl and this is great. We're not even going to show her on screen. We're just going to move on from that. Cage is also great with his daughter now, by the way. It's all good.
Yeah.
Movie done. And I'm like, man, that just doesn't feel good in comparison to everything that was leading up to it, because all of that felt great.
Honestly, I was longing for. Sorry, Sparkz. I was longing for more. Like during the end credits scene, I was hoping for something. I don't know what I was hoping for. I was just hoping for like a little bit more or something. Not say sequel bait. Just because you know how sometimes they do like the main title credits and then there's that little break where they can put a mid credits scene and then the scroll happens. I was hoping for something there, but nothing happens, and I'm just like, okay, I guess that's what we're just gonna get. And I felt wanting more, but also I do agree that third act, it does totally change the movie. Looking back on it, yeah, when Javi says, but Nick, you're totally changing the movie, and now the movie is literally changing. It doesn't change for the better. It's still, like, I do agree with what you said earlier. Greatness could have been achieved. It was 2/3 of the way there, but it just didn't quite stick the landing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love so much of like literally all of the first two acts. Everything about how we're introduced to him, the you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna read for you now, here we go. And doing the audition in front of the guy, and then being upset with Nikki on the drive, which I didn't think we were gonna get something like that soon. Like just getting Nikki as a presence that early was cool. Like, get out of the car, Nikki, I don't need you. Just all of that. We spent so much good time building him for the interpretation that we're doing, the satire on Nicolas Cage that we're doing for this film, with the beats with his family, with the beats with his daughter, with the, you know, like the prioritizing of how he thinks about his career, about how he thinks it's work that he loves. But there's this like battle inside of him between like needing to be recognized for it and just wanting to do it. And like, he kind of can't make up his mind about which one of those things he really values more.
Right.
The recognition or the work. And that's his personal internal dilemma that is causing him to be bad at his relationship with his daughter, which is the main plot point, external dilemma.
Yeah, because he says in that therapy session, like, this is my work, this is my job.
Right. And I think that's all so good and so well built. And then you again, like, you know, he's ready to quit acting because of where he's at with this argument with himself. And then he goes and meets Javi, and Javi like rekindles this idea of what it means to connect with those things and this passion. And he's able to see something in Javi appreciating his work that he hasn't gotten to engage with, appreciating cinema that he hasn't gotten to engage with.
Mhm.
And the whole way that their shenanigans unfold, the Paddington 2 bit, the whole paranoid LSD trip, even the first moment where Nicolas Cage decides to play with Javi and goes off the cliff with him, and they start to open up with each other. I thought that was really good. It was really, really an interesting way to crack open that egg on their development. I didn't think that's the way it was going to go. Javi like forcing him to play.
Yeah. I didn't think that was a cliff. We could have died.
Yeah. Like all of that is just so excellent.
Seeing their relationship go from just like you hired me for a job, I'm just here to do a job, to legitimate friendship, that was the highlight of the film. Like the first 2 acts, just Sparkz, like you keep saying, just seeing them go, like Nick kind of standoffish, like when he just goes in the water, or he's like, I'm quitting acting, and how he takes him to the cliffs, and then all the way up to the Paddington 2 bit, like when he just turns around and just goes, "Fucking told you."
Yeah.
It was hilarious. It's like, this is great. This is what I'm here for. I want to see, but still there's that little thing dangling in the back of your head. It's like, but could he really be the bad guy? And
When Pedro Pascal saves him from drowning, he just drops into the pool.
Yes.
Which is like a bottle of beer and just goes chug.
Yeah. I think all of that, all the performance stuff that they're doing is really good. I do like Nicolas Cage when he does the first like bit of spy stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, I just got to go. I touched my forehead." Did you? No, I don't think so. I'm not sure. I don't think I did. I'm fine. I did.
That was a really good bit, just because I saw it happen. And he's just like, "Okay, I think I just touched my forehead."
Yeah. And I really liked Haddish using action to make him respond and get up. Yeah, I thought that was cute. I love the way that like Javi throws facts out at him to like make him fess up that he can do things, and it's like, "You're a faster runner than me," and he's like, "What's that based on? National Treasure." And he's like, "That's the stunt team," and he's like, "Not according to the bonus features." And Nicolas Cage is like, "Damn it."
I really liked how much of Nick Cage's media, like if you look at the credits, they're all in there, and some like there's Ghost Rider merch and there's National Treasure merch. Like they really went through and to get like representations of like everything.
The one thing I actually do have to say, because I want to say they possibly used his real name for when he's playing Nicky.
They did.
Yeah, they used Nicolas Kim Cage. I didn't know, or Nicolas Kim Coppola. And I was like, I didn't know his middle name.
That's how he's credited in the credits. Nicky is separate from Nicolas Cage and credited by his real name.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a neat little tidbit where it's not just like Nicolas Cage. It's like, no, this is Nicolas Kim Coppola. It's like,
do you know why his name is Nicolas Cage?
Well,
interesting.
Because his uncle is Francis Ford Coppola, so he changed it.
It is, but do you know why it's Cage?
No, I do not.
His favorite comic book character is Luke Cage.
You know what? I should have known that because he did a Wired interview and he said that Luke Cage is his favorite, so that's why he changed it. All right.
Mag brought up, it's like my name is Bruce, but very different, and that's true.
Yeah.
There's definitely like it's playing in that vein. There's some Man Who Knew Too Little because of the spy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a great movie here, and I'm coming away with pretty good.
Yeah.
And like I'm happy to have pretty good. I enjoyed so much. I was laughing so hard at so many moments of this movie. I was just going crazy. Like the whole bit where Nicky pulls Nicolas Cage in for a kiss. He's like, "Yeah, Nicky kisses real good." Like, holy shit! You tell everybody wants a Nicky kiss.
Which is good.
Yeah, that was something.
What did that look like? What did that look like from the outside?
The way he like pulls Nicky in, like it's really, really just going for it. It says a lot. I really, really enjoy it. I think there's a lot of good stuff. I just I think that the kidnapping CIA stuff I think was just ultimately not necessary, and I think it ended up just distracting from what the story was.
There isn't even really I would have liked to see some sort of interaction between him and the first girl, because she was watching Con Air, and then when she sees Nicolas Cage, who's actually rescuing her, and she's like, "Oh my god!" Like the birth of a new Nick Cage super fan.
Sure.
But then there's just nothing besides her realizing.
Well, she says in the beginning, Nick Cage rules.
Yeah.
Or just, I don't know. I there is a lot in that third act that I wish there was different. A lot of the ending I wish there was different. But at the same time, those first 2 acts, I mean, they don't completely outweigh the third one, but they do give like, this is worth a watch, even though if the third act kind of does go, you want to make a right, but the movie says, nah, we're making a left.
I think it's like outside of, no, I'm gonna say even with the bit where he plays Sergio, like it's just not even like an interesting bit of him playing Sergio, you know? I get what they were going for there, but it's just like everything just feels very standard. I think the one thing that I really like in that whole section is where he is asked, "Do you have any last words?" and he just throws that entire read he gave from the beginning of the movie at him. Yeah. That just like confuses him and throws him off. And I'm like, well, that felt like Nicolas Cage. But that's like the one moment where he shines through in a third act that mostly makes it like very, very, very standard action movie kind of beat to me. Sure. Like this is just as easily Liam Neeson in Taken. Like there's not a lot that we're doing different in story here.
Nicolas Cage wishes he was Liam Neeson.
But you get what I mean there.
I don't actually mean that.
I do think it's visually very cool when we do change to like the Hollywood movie, and like the embassy is suddenly like architecturally more beautiful with more American flags prominent, and the Jeep is more militarized automatically. It's not even the same. Like I thought that was very cool. I was like, yeah, I could see a version where maybe we did this for longer, and so the action moviness of it felt more heightened and silly because of that. But it just like it creates this weird energy around like if that's the Hollywood movie, that bit we see right at the end, then the stuff we just saw before is the reality. And in the reality, we didn't see Nicolas Cage reckon with murdering people. We didn't see Nicolas Cage make the change in who he is in relation to what's been going on with him. We barely see anything happen with him and Javi before it's just the epilogue, which is a good epilogue, but doesn't feel totally earned by the merits of what was leading up to it.
Right. It's a good point.
I'm trying to think of like some of the other juicy. I really love that the guys that they're paranoid about are just somehow sitting in the new location after they've traveled far away. They're just suddenly there.
And
are they? Who knows? They're probably not.
It was completely incidental too, because they look confused. Like, why are they running away again?
Yeah.
I had a good time with this movie. I agree with you though. A lot of what you said.
Yeah. I had a really great time watching it. I think it's a lot of fun. I'd rather have it than not have it. I think Nicolas Cage has a really just great energy, and Pedro Pascal keeps up with him beat for beat. Couldn't have picked two better people for like what those first 2 acts are doing. Just really, really enjoyable. Yeah, it's just, I wanted it to be just a little bit more.
Sure. Yeah.
I wanted just a little bit more meat on that bone.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I thought you guys were done. Mac is saying he's curious with the Bodyguard movie where he plays the Secret Service agent. The movie
guarding Tess.
Guarding Tess. Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh. Why don't we rate it?
Yeah. I gotta think about it for a second. Ben, you want to go?
Ben?
Sure, I'll go. I'll give it a 7.5. I know that's kind of a little bit. I mean, it's not as bad as a 6 or a 5, of course, but I would still say this is a very fun, enjoyable movie. But the third act does weigh it down quite a bit. And I still think it's a good time. It's still a good movie to me. It's still a very fun movie. If you're a huge Nick Cage fan, you're going to go see it. But even one thing I will say, when I was leaving the theater and I was thinking about it, and I was like, I don't think I have a favorite Nick Cage movie, unless National Treasure, but that's about it.
Family Man's pretty good.
Boy, I don't
Seen
know. I'd have to really think on that one.
Have you ever seen Family Man, Sparkz? I'm not even gonna pretend to ask Ben.
Yeah, I've seen Family Man.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
It's a good one.
Ghost Rider, obviously, both of them.
You know, I forgot about Ghost Rider. I was thinking,
I'll never forget about Ghost Rider. It's knocking at the door.
His performance in the second one is so good.
It's very good. I kind of want to watch it again after watching this movie.
Yeah, but one huge tip of the hat and kudos to Nick Cage, because he is delivering all those jokes great. Like the bit at the very end of the movie with his belt buckle, where his dresser wanted to wear a bumblebee. He's like, no, not the bees, not the bees.
Mm-hmm.
Not for nothing, Pedro Pascal's pulling his weight here too, really
totally
well when he's allowed to. Like he's showing up, he's doing the work for sure.
Right.
God, that shot where Cage looks over at him when they're on LSD and he's driving the car, he's like,
yeah. A big smile. Okay, so
Yeah.
Ben, you said 7.5, just to remind the audience.
Yeah, 7.5.
Sparkz.
I'm gonna go 8 because like there is so much good in this movie. I just like I expand on. It's also like frankly like if the third act had been perfect, I would just be here saying like what an incredible movie, and I'd just be saying that over and over again. And like it's not a movie where there's a whole lot to tear apart at. It just I can't say it any more succinctly than like this should have been a great movie, and I feel like we were so close. Because there's so much interesting material here and they're having such a good time making it and displaying it. And I just really wonder what a version that didn't do the kidnapping story would have been.
Yeah.
Because I just am fully convinced that you could have done something where he's just suspicious of Javi potentially just being dangerous for him, and then later for his family, and then just run with that, and then like it's actually fine, and it's all just a misunderstanding of circumstances. But the character stuff that's been unraveled on the way is what's interesting. So yeah, I give it an 8. I think there's a lot of cool stuff in it.
Before I give it mine, can you bring up Mag's thing? Because he's right. The Rock, Con Air, and Face Off are all 3 great Nicolas Cage movies.
I need to rewatch Con Air. It's been a long time. Never seen The Rock or Face Off. But also, I'm going to put up Mag's rating if you don't mind.
I'm actually really surprised you haven't seen Face Off.
That's what John Travolta, right?
I don't know why that one surprises me, because like, I guess maybe I'm surprised you haven't seen The Rock.
I'm surprised
watch these movies.
To be honest with you, I'm surprised he hasn't seen Con Air of the 3.
No, I have seen Con Air. I just need to rewatch it.
I thought you said you hadn't seen any of them.
No, it's been a very long time. But anyways,
no, then see Ben's on brand to me.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, Mag gives the movie an 8.
The Rock's great. Okay, sorry. I'll probably give it a 7.5. It kind of feels like mostly just vibes for me. I just kind of dig being with this actor for about 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Yeah. Still a good time in the movie theaters.